Hello, this is Gerald here from us. In this video, I will already jump to part 3 of the revised theory that shows you how letters are really positions in time and space. And the third kinds of positions are the most complex ones, but I figured it out how to make it a bit more clear. There are some small details that still can be improved, but I think it's already a general good overview that I can provide in just one video. And these, I already jumped to the third part, and so this is the context-based restorations of placements and timings. That means that each letter can have a position in space, can have a position in timing, but when that's not clear, okay, we have to restore it a little bit, that you give it the right place, give it the right moment, give it the right placement, if we can't do that immediately. There are letters that refer to that kind of positioning. And basically, so I will repeat very quickly what I already have. So what I will do is I will use the focus upon letters that we use to create a balance between the letters, how we deal with that with letters. There is a kind of mathematical principle in it that we obey to unconsciously understand, just like we understand colors, that we understand numbers, even if we don't fully understand them, we apply to them correctly. Meaning that the A is always at the basis, at the basics, and we, in that way, we refer to the things that are quite simple in one focus. We can keep them in one focus. We relate them all to the spatial frame, to the objective frame, to the focus in space, to the one-pointed points of placements. And these vocals that you see are the vague references around which we find our balance also in the letters and the letter combinations. The E as the beginning of timing and the O as the ending of timing. When one focus of a stable point is not possible because there are changes there. So when there are changes, we also, of course, we will notice also where does it start, where will it go to, E, O. And when there's a little bit more open context, that complexity is even further. We have it splits in more focuses. In between, we try to find a balance. That's the open context that I will now quickly name it like that. So we try to have stable positions into one as a placement, as a definition. Sometimes we need timing, so we go from 0 to 1. And in between is, of course, also some, or in the background, there are also things that are not very clearly with a very good start or very clear ending. And there are, things that are sometimes they're not there, sometimes they're always there. So they're like a certainty in the background. That is the way how we can also give an order to that in what do we need? We need only place or space or placement, or we need also timing, or we need the bigger context. The basics is the letter A, in which we define the position in space, but you can also have the timing there. So between start something and end something, you have, of course, the moment of now. We have that focus that we have there. It's all, you could also play with it mathematically. It's between never and always. It's between 0 and 1. It's the definitions, and what are the formulas sometimes also that you need. We use in language an opinion first, that we start in 0 as also an estimation. We go towards a goal, which are the conditions which someone else suggests. We go towards it, we will succeed, we will not succeed, we will understand, we will not understand, but we deal with it, we deal with these aspects. So basically, when we start from the 0 point, it's about, we start to have the focus as if it is our vision, it is our idea, we start with it, and we deal with it if it works or not. The conditions are vaguely also associated with someone else, the other, or the other point, and so on. The conditions that are mostly suggested in language, in conversations, and so on. And we try to face immediately what we have now. Okay, let's go to this third video, in which we vaguely have already the three regions which we separate with one focal point in which 9 letters fit, in a double focal point in which 10 letters fit. There's a reason for it why there are 10. There's this inward and outward movement there. At some point you also have that switching point where you can go inwardly or outwardly, the Z and the W. And you have the 7 remaining letters that are fitting into the last category, while they are not 9 letters, because there are 2 positions which are not really letters but more sounds that still fit there. I'll come to that later, not now. This is the backing viewpoint in 3. And of course there's mathematical associations there as well. You have where they are, you have a certain balance, which I'm not going to explain further now, but I explained that already a lot of times, but I will quickly show you it correctly. So what kind of focuses do we have to focus upon? You see already these 3 regions, with the stable places, the changing places, all the places which are a bit unclear, and it also needs an effort to restore it, because there are some things we don't see. We don't see the stable point, we don't see the timings, and all the things that we miss via context we can still rearrange, and that's what this video will be about. And the letters that are used are about restoring the things that we cannot see. There's something missing. There are some mathematics missing as well, because you have this formula at the background where you can't see the beginning or can't see the ending, but it still works within that context. I have to calculate a little bit, try to calculate what I do, if this is, because I can't use this always a beginning and always an ending and always these conditions at all times. No, you have to figure out, does this fit now at this moment? And that's a little bit more complex than saying like, okay, here I have the start and there you have the end always. It doesn't always work like that in reality, of course. You still have to check sometimes, like, yeah, but does it fit now at this moment, what we have now? And do we see it when we can start something that it will work also? These kind of things are about context. But let's go to the 3 focus again and how they work together. So the ideal, which we like best, is the stable definition. So that we don't have to move, we just stand still, and we don't have to do anything. I always found it quite ridiculous that the books that you have about chakras are always about this person who stands still, and you have these chakras, you can count them. It doesn't work like that. It is about movement, it's about changes, and so you have to move, you have to, that kind of things are related with other things than the stable condition. Okay, but that's that aside. We do that automatically here in the West. We like the stable definitions. We don't like to move. We like to sit on the chair and don't move. But the best thing for you is to move, of course, to change, of course, to make changes, and also the things that you don't know, to work on it and see how you can work on it. And the last category is that what you miss, you can also restore. But we always think that our ideal is the stable definition. This point immediately in space, just one point, and if it's a thing, that's the thing. No yes, no no, no variations. If you have another opinion, that kind of idea is used too often because that's easy. That stable point, we sit inside, we go to the computer, we have an opinion, yes, that's it, and you have no opinion, no, that's not it. That's that one-pointed direction. It's actually quite poor, but it's very practical because you can take it immediately. Less ideal then for our opinion is that we have to deal with changes or with conditions, all these things that needs revision, and that needs to look at the conditions and see like, do we have the conditions now? No. And when do we have the conditions? Later. It's a different kind of thinking, and that's the green zone there. That's less ideal. We deal with the change. We deal with the changes. Or what is different. So when you have a different opinion, okay, then I have to listen and see like, okay, but I'm different here. But okay, maybe sometimes I can go towards these conditions, and I will check if these conditions are right from my point of view as well. I start with the timings. I start with a different way of thinking. And then you have a third kind of thinking, which is that it's not just about like the conditions are there in the future, there they are, just make them and that's it. Sometimes it's like, I'm not going to that point. I don't have the conditions. They are not there yet, or I don't see it. Yeah, then is the moment that you also need to change, that you need to adapt, that there is a restoration needed, that you don't really have the path before you in timings, that you can time it. Oh yeah, I have it here and I go towards it. If it's not there, something is unclear, you can become angry because I don't have it, and you fight again. No, here there is the need in the last option. There is no other option that you need to change, and you need to see. But what kind of context do we have? Not what I have, what we have in general in the order of three. This is about the general conditions. Your conditions, my conditions. We both have these conditions. And do we have that agreement? Do we have that timing together? If not, we need to go towards a change and adapt. This last category is about adaptations. So the first thing that we could make possible to change, here we go to all the letters, and all the letters are leveling up. So we go from the sky towards the highest heavens, let's say, to all the options that we have, that we could change, that we are able to change. The unstable conditions. The first unstable condition is, we don't have it in space. We don't have it in the physical reality. We don't have it now here as a stable condition. The stable condition is not there. So you have to have a readiness to change before you can do that. So if you have this readiness to change, it's a mentality change, and you're open to context. You have to go open to the general context. And what do? You connect space to have a look into the context. What do we have in space at this moment, and what do we not have in space at this moment? Very simple like that. And what letter is that? The first letter in the third category is Q. So let's write down Q in this last category, the red zone. But first I will already say where it is. So you have these three focuses, the three center point focuses, which is on the level of the head there indeed, accidentally, but it quite fit with that idea. It's a mindset, even more than all the other options. And we have that mindset that from my heart, that we want to restore the space and place and placements and objectivity, but of course we don't always see what there is. Sometimes we have something, and sometimes we don't have that thing. Sometimes I have that thing, and sometimes you have that thing. So there's a points that there's a 0 for me, and there's a Q for you. So it's in the waiting line in the queue. That thing is for you at that point in space. But how do I receive it? How do I connect to it? How do I restore it to my vision, that I can also understand it, and I also can restore it to my place, to my space, in our agreement of context. How do I do that? With the first letter, of course. What's the first letter? It's on the first level, also just above the horizon, where the sky, where the elements in the sky will rise, that I can see the sun will rise there, that this will give me hope in these heavens of context behind it. It's the first level, it's just the first level. The Q is lying there already, and how do I will write the letter to it, which immediately, accidentally, also points to that level of Q. I do it to the first level, that first level which says yes or no, and I have to restore it to see, like, okay, but context says that at some point, like here in the past, this Q is given to me. At some other point, which is now, this Q is given to you. And another point in time, you say later, the Q is just a general thing. That kind of thinking is about Q. That is the Q about. Q, it is also used as a word, for instance, like you're waiting in a queue. Sometimes the things are for you, sometimes it's your turn, and sometimes it's someone else's turn. It's the basic foundation for Q also, because then you understand the general context for when and when is something. There's also a general thing about it. So that was the Q, the first letter. And it will, of course, restore this on the level of space. And what do we adapt? Of course, we will adapt accordingly. There's a timing involved. There's some time is for me, sometimes it's for you, or sometimes it's planned that I can receive it, or sometimes it's planned that someone else is becoming it, or it's just a concept that is becoming. That's how we restore this idea of where belongs to something via context. And we can also reconnect to how the things are timed, how the things are conceptually timed. Okay, sometimes this is for you at this point. When you know the concept, you can start to see those things. This is, of course, conceptual as well, but it will fit with the idea what Q is, where Q is used, and so on. It fits with that idea. It's just an illustration, let's say, like how you understand the perspective of my focus. I have a focus, and sometimes the things are for you, sometimes the things are for me, but in a way it's all reachable as an orientation from context, and you can see from context when things are given to you or to me. The placement of Q, as you can see, the number ones, is actually at the same point. When you write down the letter K into the spatial frame, you have it's at the same place as where you have the K already. Q, the Q is also pronounced with K, so that fits actually. So, and what was K about? It was this movement of perspective. You have to change your perspective. You do not have it right now in the now. You have to see, yeah, but where is it then? What are the conditions? Here are the conditions. The conditions are expressed via the general Q. And of course, thanks to Q, and K already, we refocus it. And now we can refocus it and also understand it via context. Okay, but what if you cannot find that new focus directly in space? Because this is about, okay, that's what we have in space, that's what we have in the material world, that's what we have in the physical world, all the connections in and we know then, okay, you're next in line, I'm next in line. But what point of next in line? When is this next in line? When is my turn? When is my turn? I know it's all, everybody has its own turn. So now it's for you, then it's for us, and it's for both of us. at some point. Why do I not have it now? And when will I have it? If you don't see it at this point, this one point of focus will become zero, so you will not have that focus, and you will have to look higher up in the system, where of course where will you be next in line in focus when you don't have the moment in space where you receive it. You will have, of course, higher, you will become at a point higher up, and you will have that at the edge from what you can still see in space, where the timing starts, and these are there is the point of a region where all the timings and placement start. So there will start all the timings, we're looking for it, and that's where it is. It is a little bit higher, it's in that zone. And when I write down V simply in the region where it is, it also starts from there. It starts, I'm not doing anything, I'm just writing down Q, the same size as I write down the V, and it lifts up a little bit. It is there exactly where it should be. It's at the starting point, the breaking point, in between space and timing. It depends on each other. So that's where my focus lies in V. And then now I will explain it, what that means. It's that level of timing. We are basic focusing on timing and what will be used via timing. So when it is not reachable, of course, that we know or immediately what the placements are. When we don't see what the placements are, we have to see, okay, but when do we have these placements? These placements, they have also a timing, so we focus instead of on the placements themselves. It's for you, it's for me, we can't see that, but we can focus upon the timing, one level higher, or we can focus on the timing, and this timing depends again on context. So now it's not placement depending on timing, the previous letter, the Q, now it's timing dependent on context. Of course, all these letters depend on context, but they are this is the level of focus. So we have a timing which is completely relevant only to context. We have that's the way how we can understand it. So it's about distribution of material. First viewpoint, it was about starting points. The second moment is always about material. It's also here about distribution of material. There's a very good word in Dutch which explains it very well, which is van, which means of. So this is from, I mean, so it is from someone, it goes to someone. It's distributed, so you have the choices. So if you don't see it immediately for who it is, you can only see it, okay, but it is timed. For this moment, this will come to you. This moment, this will come to you, and so on. It distributes via not only placement, also via timing, and this only via context. If you know the context, for instance, you are in a factory, and everybody is paid, but the people from the first department are paid first. You know it, that it is timed according to context. So when you wait in line and you say, yeah, but he comes first, why is that? If you know it, it's timed because of context. Okay, you know it, and your that's a liberation actually when you know that. So thanks to the movement of material, which the V will always do, according to context, we will come to the new moments. That decides the moments when something is coming to someone, and that is the thing that is organized there. While Q was about perspective, that you know what kind of perspective you had to choose. The next level was about the organization itself, which is explained here. So this first V is that, of course, potentially we have that relationship in context at some point. Here, some parts will come there at some point, and the last one, potentially, it will come, of course, at some point. Okay, we can have some variations there. It doesn't really matter. But what if we cannot also time that directly? If we don't see it, okay, that we don't see the context that we can also time that. For instance, we have 50 people, they all have to be paid, and yeah, we don't know who to choose first then. Okay, we are already in a problem. I don't know if it's a good example, but that's already it. We don't have a concept for it to move that material, so we have to work differently. So when we also do not have access to the material anymore, so we can't distribute it also. We don't still, just imagine you don't have money yet. That's maybe better. You don't have money yet, so how do I know when, or when you don't know where that money is? How shall I distribute it? How can I plan it if the money is not there yet? How can I plan it? The planning and the plans go of course to that level of planning, and the plans as well. We don't know the perspective, we don't know the timing, so we have to go to the planning. The planning can be planned ahead, beforehand, by the next letter, which is the letter G, and when I write it down, I come immediately to a higher point. It fits, it still fits. So I have this higher point on the level of planning in my head. I can plan the payments in my factory ahead, even if I don't have access to the money. I don't have access to a perspective when that money will come or whatever. I can still make, or how the money will come, whatever. I can still make a planning, and the conditions for the planning, I can make them, and then I can base my timing, I can base my distribution, I can base my perspective upon that. It's a little bit higher up in the level of organization. Here this is organized in my brain. How? Now go back to the example of the company who is paying is people who work there. If it depends on, for instance, on how much more work has been done by these people, how much income they received, so that they also received more money, you can't see that beforehand how the money is distributed, how the payments are distributed. So you have to plan it, how it is going to be paid. And so this is already the third level then, as you see. And what can you do to follow it up further? You have to follow it up in time. You have to follow it up and calculate it the whole time. That's the G. It's that kind of estimation that you have to follow up. You have to follow it up the whole time and see what it brings with the G. See, I don't know if I have other examples with G, but that's the way how the association on the level of G works. You do not have access immediately to all the placements and places and so on, and material and so on. You also do not have the full idea of how things can be timed, because you cannot plan those things beforehand in timing alone. Now you need the concept of how to organize it, and that's where the G comes in again. And that's the kind of thing. And the organization is, of course, that then you can calculate and say, okay, it will depend on this, it will depend on that, and so on. And by depending it, you also have access to larger systems and so on. So the conceptual systems that will make you able to calculate and come to the right timing, come to the right placements and so on in the end. It is followed up by it's followed up, that is it, and it is gradually, here again a G, gradually made in time. That's what it is different from something that is already a timed schedule immediately, or an estimation of simply an amount or things like that. It doesn't work like that on this level. And the G is compared to systems that are bigger. All the systems that are big, the systems that need these calculations, need these estimations, and so on. We often, I have some good examples in my book there where the G is explained as and also compared to the heavens behind the normal the normal spaces, the ideas of bigger spaces actually beyond the normal spaces, and these bigger spaces are like concepts or on another level. That kind of things are associated on with the G. Maybe I explain it some other time better. So, but even then, when this is not clear, so when to plan or how to plan, or what kind of conditions are there that makes a plan work, we can also focus on these conditions. When will conditions work? When will it work for us? That we can also use this concept of planning. And we need to check these conditions via context again. So if we can't plan it very well, we have to make a plan, of course, that works, that is that will bring us money, will bring us something in. So what is a focus that we need to look upon that such a planning works and will bring good fortune, let's say. And that's the next level. So we will look up a higher level, and that's the letter H, which is basically it's the breath. It is what is working well. It's a context which actually says here we have relationships between context, between timing, and between space that actually work so that it is productive. That's more or less how I describe it at this point. And here is the position. The position is a bit smaller again because it's the second level, so it is in the middle environment, let's say, of or the volume of the thing. So not at the borders, not in the middle, not the full thing, but somewhat in between. And that somewhat in between is that filled-in space. The filled-in space of context means actually it is how we can fill in space so that it will be productive. Productive in communication between the different fields, of course, as well. It's a livable situation in which we can start to plan again. So now we have a foundation that we can be sure, okay, then we can do something with, so that we can make a planning. It's a central starting point, a restoration as well, because it is like, oh, we don't see it when it is productive. Here we can see it when it is productive. We will start a point. We will be able to start a point in time, and we will be able to have an environment in which you can work productively. So it gives you a time that is right to engage something. A very good example I had in my book as well with the letter H. I think it will come in one of the next slides. I had it once in comparable religion studies. They also told me at some point that the letter H in the Hebrew names in the Bible, for instance, it is used at certain points. For instance, when Abram has an H to it, or when John from Johannes gets an H to it. It is that moment where he says, okay, here he has some plans beforehand, he prepared himself and so on, but now he has a new idea that didn't fit before, not with Abraham, not with John, there are a few other names. At that point where the ideas didn't fit, they had to wait until they had a moment, an open space in which it could fit. And now they felt, okay, from here on I can make my planning and that will work, because here I know it has its own progression, it has its space to live in, and so on. I can connect. From here on I can make my planning. Beforehand, with the preparation, you cannot. For the moment H becomes available in that name. It is like not that kind of enlightenment, but it is that kind of, yes, it has the breath of life here. It can live its course. It can live within the moments that are ready for it in the environment, ready for it in the society, ready for it in for the people, that they are prepared so that they can accept it, that they also see, okay, this is we can do something with it. If you put something new into a new system into a society, into give it to people, and it's not breathable yet, it's not ready yet to go ahead with the H, it will not work. So that kind of focus with H is quite important if you want to add something new into a planning. If you have a new idea for a planning, it should be also breathable, it should be workable, to work towards progress and so on. It's a livable situation in which you can anytime insert it into the physical world, into the spatial frame, into the objectives that we have and are using at any point. It will be prosperous as soon as we can add the H into a word. The next letter, if you can read in the scheme, after the next letter, it will be the R. And the R, so you had already the horizontal flow, so that you can use it in the flow of things. Here it is the highlight, the highlights, the vertical again. And there is the R in the same size, in the second size. And there you can read the R or its position. So it's just about position at this point. So what will be the right moment to connect, and what will be connected? That's still something we don't see with the H. In H it was the environment, it was the foundation, but what will be connected there? The R is all about connections. It will be that next point where it says, okay, but the highlights, where it will connect, the highlights, the verticals, the highlights, the moments, the impulses, the pulses, where the connections will happen, that will happen via R. These will be the pulses, the impulses to connect, and that will succeed to connect there. It's a bit more difficult, I think, the last couple of letters. Also, so I still have difficulties to be sure where I can still add extra tools to make things more clear, like with vertical, horizontal, diagonal. In that last category, it becomes a little bit blurry, but I can say, and I will show it to you immediately, it is going towards the edges, so more and more diagonal tendencies will be added there. Diagonal means it is changing, it is at the last category, or things are changed and into a change and into movement. More and more movement and changes will happen and occur there the whole time. In the R it will be very effective as well to have these access points running also. But you know already, it's about context. We go from context and go again towards, after H, progress, of course, not just the progress of the foundations of progress, but also making the progress and finding the moments with it and finding the material with it. So after that, here's just an example how it works. it finds its connections into the system, and that's how all things are running and redistributed also in the physical sense, and it's always guaranteed that you can have it. The redistribution also in the physical sense will be guaranteed once this process is running. But what if we also cannot count not on the timings, not on the plannings, not on everything which is going on and which is ready to connect and so on. If it's this readiness to connect is not there very easily, what can we do if there is not an automatic distribution of all the elements that are available? What's the next thing that we need to do? We have to go higher and look into the context how we can solve that. So because the placement is not there, the timing is not there, the conditions are not there to connect immediately to all these levels. So we're coming to the last level of context, which is the context alone, and it stands a little bit alone. We are higher up, and we have to do our best to make it work this time. And the last two letters that are in the system of letters is the E, and the E will connect, of course, via context, directly via context. If we put the right size in it, the right size is the smallest size, it's at the edges of what we have, at the edges of what we connect, so we connect directly to context. So we're going to focus not on the things in space, not on the timings in time. No, the space we do not know, the timings we hardly can see. It is about context. We see a certain context and it's available. E are the ideas that are available via context. They become clear and we want to include them. But it needs effort before we can do that. The first E is that casual context, let's say, that you see, okay, we have here a very good opportunity. We have the opportunity that I can add to my intentions, that I can add to the application, and that it's also expressed a little bit in the Japanese letter of E here, one of these letters of E, so that you can insert it and apply it. Apply, comply, go ahead. What else was there again? So we will do that from top to down. We will have these ideas and bring them down into the different levels, but it will need effort, and that I will illustrate a little bit what will happen in the background of our minds is that we have a mindset and we realize that what we want to insert in context, it is something that actually also is potentially there in the past, potentially in the present, potentially in the future. It's potentially there, and this connection between these points of access, past, present and future, makes it a concept, an idea that can be from a contextual level, could be applied actually to what we have mentally also here, to what we have here in this world of timings, of placements. We first like to insert the context. That's our idea. We have a timing and we see, okay, we have something of a context and we look for the right moment. We have a good that we want to include, and we want to include it into a general concept of balance. It should and could fit everywhere. Mentally it is like that. It could fit anywhere, and we want to insert it. So because it's a general value as well, it has its right for its existence. It has a general, it follows the general rules. It follows the general values as well. But we can't do that very easily because you have this alignment that the things are conceptually and in the context it is all correct. But we still have to come to an agreement that yes, indeed, you have to make this insight. So you first have an idea, but you still have to come to the insight that it is indeed something general, it works for both of us, and then we come to an agreement. So there is still effort to do before you can do that. You have an opportunity, but that doesn't mean that it will work immediately. If you cannot come to an agreement at this point with E, even there when the context is there, and you can still focus on it, it will still not work. And what do we have to do? We have to look further. I have to look further to the next letter. If it's not E, it's the last letter, it's S. I'll come to the Bible again. Yeah, another letter from the Bible, the S from Satan. It's because we do not agree in things. So if one person thinks this is good and the other one thinks this is bad for me, or it is bad for me, or it doesn't work for me, and so on. That's the shadowy part. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad, but it is, we do not come to an agreement, or it doesn't come to agreements easily. Anyhow, what it is a reality. It is what it is. That's also S. It is what it is because it is something that is in the contextual part. It is something that could work at some point if you find not just the right context, but also the kind of agreements that it also brings progress and so on. From the context, it simply says, from the context alone, it is a value. But it's just a value without any opportunities. It is, the only thing we have is that there could be an alignment from 0 to 1, so in timing, that after a while we could reintegrate, we could integrate it, but you have to make effort. If you do not give that effort, you leave it open and you do not make the choices to go for it, also maybe because it simply doesn't work. The S then, in that way, only has that potential, with the S, that there can become an alignment at some point, but you have to make these efforts, work of course, and work towards the inner thing and work on it and work towards it and change it and adapt to it, and a whole process that you have to go for it before it works, because at this point it's just a running course. It's just is what it is. Without doing anything of it, you can't also do not much with it, or not much good with it in that way as well. That's the only thing you have. You have to come to an alignment. That's you have really the highest level up which you can reach of focus. You do not have the correct placement. You do not have the correct timings. You also do not agree to do anything with it. The only thing is, like, maybe even this alignment is in context. You cannot even align it well to make a plan with it. So even there is, on that level, there's a lot to do before you can make it work and before you can use it, because it's just a product. It is just what it is as a context of its own. It's almost the last letter. It's the last letter in the system, real letter of the system, but it's not the last position in the system. The last letter in the position actually says, here we see the things that only work within its context. It works on its own. It has its fluctuations, and we work within these fluctuations. Something comes in, we don't know where it comes from. Something comes out, we don't know where it goes to. It's in that way, it seems to be vague, but it is of course just what it is at that highest level there. But even then, and then comes the last letter, what if all these fluctuations and the effects that it will bring to us are not even going towards a certain plan of that we can do some parts with it and change it and so on. What if it is becoming completely uncontrollable, that we cannot get access to it and do something with it, even see what it really is? The last level will come up. It's not even a letter, it's the sound and that's the last letter that you can have. It's really at the edge. It is the edge of our borders of what we can see. It's actually saying something like, okay, between never and everywhere, you have the now position, but even the now means I can't use it yet, not even in a timing plan, not even at some point. I can't use it. I can't, or it is something that never exists, or it's something that exists everywhere, and then it's so global that you can't use it. It's a laughter, of course, as well. Ha is one of the two laughters in the system. It says I cannot use it potentially, but it exists as a context of its own maybe, but I cannot connect to it. There's no application possible, so I just say, huh, it's getting outside my system of connecting with it via language and via understanding each other. That's the last sound that is produced in the system of all the levels. So I hope the contextual references, some of it is still open for a little bit better work out as well, and a little bit more confined spaces. So I still consider it as a work in progress. For some of it, other parts are really quite well how they are defined. So I hope you enjoyed it, and that you also have a very good idea now how the letters are used and how you use these focuses, and you have these focuses in the back of your mind and you deal with these things. I can explain them in many different ways as well, but this was one of the ways which I hope that also brought you closer to what the letters refer to, and how you can associate them very quickly in the reference points between time and space. Okay, thanks again.